Welcome aboard, everybody. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden here, your steadfast advocate for health, welcoming you and yours to another live edition of Metaphysical Thursday right here on the Dr. Glidden Show. If you're watching the live stream on YouTube and you would like to join the worldwide chat room for absolutely no charge, please visit the website, thedrgliddenshow.tv, thedrgliddenshow.tv. Click on the links and join the fun. Metaphysical Thursday. On Metaphysical Thursdays, we talk about those things relative, guess what, to metaphysics. And metaphysics is the branch of science which is talked about. It is the red-headed stepchild of science in the world today that contemporary scientists, contemporary doctors, contemporary physicists want absolutely nothing to do with. Metaphysics, of course, concerns itself with the phenomena in the universe which are unmeasurable, unproven. For instance, the existence of the soul, the existence of a spiritual force, consciousness itself, right? All of these things are in the realm of metaphysics. And of course, if the soul exists, then it must have an intimate relationship with health. And holistic physicians investigate this relationship, well, not exclusively, but wholeheartedly. Holistic physicians are savvy, mate, to the relationship between the indwelling spirit inside the human body and the level of health that that body has or does not have. And we talk about these subjects here on most Thursdays in this segment in the first hour, Metaphysical Thursday. So in the past, I've had a yoga practitioner, a yogi of sorts, a modern day yogi, Govindan Satchidananda, who leads a yoga group outside of Montreal in Canada and has done remarkable work on the subcontinent of India. This very socially active man, and he spoke to us about the Hindu point of view of the relationship of the soul to the human body and things like that. Today, we're going to talk about the relationship of New Testament and Old Testament stuff for people of faith. Now remember, this is a non-sectarian show. We don't espouse any one particular religious point of view. Quite frankly, this isn't even a show that espouses religion per se, but we do advocate the notion of the presence of the spirit in the human body, and we are a platform for people of different faiths, different walks of life, different sects and segments of society to come and voice their opinion on metaphysical subjects. Today, believe it or not, an unlikely candidate to voice his opinion on metaphysics for people of faith, especially people of the Christian faith, Marvin Ropp. Mr. Ropp is retired as a chief warrant officer after 20 years of honorable military service, of which the last 17 of his 20-year naval career, he was a Navy SEAL and a Naval Special Warfare Command's SEAL Team 3, SEAL Team 1, and SDV Team 1. Yeah, that's right. Marvin Ropp is the kind of person who can kill you with his bare hands. A remarkable human being. Marvin and I have spent many an hour together, and he shared with me many stories of his exploits during his military career. After his military service, Mr. Ropp decided to pursue a career in commercial construction management, and he received a Bachelor of Science degree in construction management at Weber State University and received his CQE Level 1 certification from ACI Construction Certification Commission in November of 2005. In 2007, Mr. Ropp, living in Utah, well, guess what happened? The construction industry bottomed out. And that's when he found, he found Youngevity years before, but he started applying Youngevity wholeheartedly, has had remarkable health experiences with Youngevity, and he feels like, and he is, healthier now than he was 12 years ago at the age of 42. Osteoarthritis, infertility, hair loss, sore joints, fatigue, everything was going downhill for Marvin Ropp until he found Youngevity. And when he found Youngevity, as is the experience of most people, his life turned around. And I'm very, very happy, proud, quite frankly, and honored to have Marvin Ropp join us here on Metaphysical Thursdays. Marvin, are you with me?
Can you hear me, Dr. Clinton?
You are coming in loud and clear, Marvin. Now, you and I were at the Hoosier Jamboree in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I listened to your lecture. You have uncovered some important, interesting scriptural relationships between the pharmaceutical industry and life, and I'm wondering if you can elucidate the audience as to what you are talking about and what you've discovered.
Well, yes, Dr. Clinton, thank you first and foremost for having me on the show, and thank you for that kind of introduction. Most people that get to know me, I am not the killer that Dr. Clinton says I am. I'm a pretty compassionate guy. You know, I like to. You know, I used to teach people how to blow things up, but now I teach people how to heal and get better, you know. So it's a different profession, but either way, I love doing this. I love what I do. I love traveling, teaching, lecturing, and one of the things within the last 6 months, matter of fact, 2014 was a tremendous revelation for me regarding the biblical responsibility we have in teaching people health and wellness. And I came across a very interesting study one morning as I was studying and reading my Bible, and I came across the word witchcraft and sorcery. Of course, you know, my curiosity, I always like to go back to its original Greek origin and see what the Greek is, and come to find out it was the Greek word pharmakia. Now, if those of you who are biblical scholars, you may take notes, and those of you who are not, that's okay. You can maybe just listen and find it fascinating. But with that said, all of a sudden, I looked at the definition of pharmakia, and interesting enough, the Greek definition is to administer drugs, practice, administer drugs. Also, the definition means sorcery and witchcraft. And so, as further looking into it, I remember when I was about 20 years ago, I was sitting in church, and I listened to one of the pastors. I had been going to church. He was a senior pastor there, Mike McIntosh. Many of you may have heard of Mike McIntosh, Horizon Christian Fellowship out of San Diego, California. And now Mike McIntosh just real quickly kind of talked about his past experience as a hippie. He was a radical hippie in the 60s and got radically saved. And he was relating to the sin of witchcraft and sorcery as the same thing as using drugs. He used the term pharmakia. And I remember that sermon. I never could forget that sermon. And but this new discovery this kind of rediscovery of this pharmakia in the Bible got my interest. So I started doing a very in-depth study of the Old Testament and New Testament. And because I knew that in the Old Testament, witchcraft and sorcery were strictly forbidden. We have many references there, and those of you who have read your Bible probably understand, know some of the scriptural references, and I'm not going to kind of go too specific, but one of the things I was trying to do is connect the Old Testament to the New Testament regarding pharmakia, the use of drugs, administered drugs, and witchcraft and sorcery. I did find 3 references, Dr. Clinton, in the book, the New Testament, Galatians 5:20, Revelations 9:21, and Revelations 18:23. What I found was I was kind of excited, but also another way I was just really alarmed, because what I discovered was that neither one of these 3 biblical references, when they use the word pharmakia, Galatians 5:20, it translates that word into sorcery. Revelation 9:21 translates that into sorcery. Galatians 5:20 translated into witchcraft, but Revelation 9:21 translates into sorcery. But it's the same definition. So, further investigation, I could not find any ties to the Old Testament from these 2 biblical references. Not until I came to Revelations 18:23, which is a direct quote of Nahum 3:4. Those of you who are biblical scholars know that Nahum is an account of the complete destruction of Nineveh, which was destroyed 612 BC. And it talks about the wickedness of Nineveh. It talks about all the things that Nineveh was doing. And one of the things that was so fascinating is that Nineveh was spared by God 150 years before its destruction. Jonah was called to go preach to Nineveh. And if those of you who have read the book of Jonah, you will know that God would call Jonah to go preach to Nineveh and tell them to stop doing the wickedness. Now, he doesn't list the wickedness in the book of Jonah, what they were doing, that God was so angry. But we do know the story of Jonah. You know, he reluctantly went after jumping off the boat, got swallowed by a whale. Of course, he went back and he did what God told him to do. He warned the Ninevites, and the Ninevites stopped doing what God was so angry. And what really got my attention was Nahum 3:4. It talks about that they were leading peoples and nations astray by their witchcraft and sorcery. Now, Dr. Glidden, that's an old biblical reference in Revelation, in the book of Revelation.
So what you're telling me is that when you translate the word pharmakia, which is found in Galatians 5:20, Revelations 9:21, Revelations 18:23, when you translate that word, not only does it mean witchcraft and sorcery, but it also means the administration of drugs. So what we've got here, ladies and gentlemen, is scriptural reference to the evil nature of the pharmaceutical industry. And I'd like you just to take a look around the world and see, how is the pharmaceutical industry working for you? How is it working for your loved ones? How is it working? Is your health better? Are your finances better? Are things in your life improving? Are you feeling stronger and more successful every day? Or is your health failing? And if your health is failing, why is it failing? Perhaps we've taken the wrong dog to the hunt. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Peter Glidden here with my very special guest, Marvin Ropp. Now, Marvin, this is very interesting. So just to recap here, right, you have discovered in the Old Testament, Galatians 5:20, Revelations 9:21, Revelations 18:23, references to the word pharmakia. And pharmakia translates to sorcery, witchcraft, and the use of prescription medications. And I am assuming that the references that you have uncovered do not recommend these things in a positive light. These things, of course, are recommended in a negative light. Am I so far so good?
Exactly. Now, what I want to do is kind of get a little bit more in depth and detail about these three biblical references. Before I do that, I actually went to the Webster Dictionary, and I have an old college edition, second edition, 1982 Webster Dictionary. And if you look up the word pharmacy, it actually gives you the its Greek origin, pharmakia. It leaves out the definition of sorcery and witchcraft, but it has the exact same definition as the Greek definition of pharmakia. It is the administering use of drugs, medication, practice of medicine. But if you look up a couple words above that, you'll see the word pharmaceutical. Interesting enough, they left in the definition of pharmaceutical. They show you its Greek origin, but they have in there to practice witchcraft and medicine in the Webster Dictionary.
That's
and
crazy.
The funny part about it is the new online dictionaries and a lot of the new dictionaries don't have that. They left that definition out. So Webster, Noah Webster is a man of God, and he had a great respect of God's word, and he gave us the correct definition of pharmacy and pharmakia. And so basically, we're finding here is that there is in the Navy SEALs, we call them the enemy, right? When we were looking to take out an enemy position, we always look at see where how the enemy tries to maneuver around us. Well, we can definitely see there's an underground movement here, as you could say, trying to dumb down the average citizen as to the practice and administer drugs as it pertains to the biblical. Thou shalt not do this. And so let me go to the biblical. Galatians 5:20 is a list of all the things, I call it a list of the sinful nature. Revelation 9:21 is actually, let me back up a little bit here and just kind of give our audience a little prefaces on what Revelation 9:21 leads up to. If you look at the book of Revelation, it's the beginning of the 6th chapter is the beginning of the 7 seal judgments. Every time a seal of that is opened up, there was a judgment pronounced on mankind. And those judgments were pretty severe, Dr. Glidden. They were pretty severe. By the time you get to Revelation 9:21, you are in the 7th seal, but within the 7th seal, you have 7 trumpets. And each time a trumpet was opened up or sounded, there was a tremendous judgment pronounced on mankind, on the inhabitants of the earth. These are future judgments that we can read of. These are future prophecies, Revelation 9:21. Interesting enough, Dr. Glidden, there's 4 things that God was very angry with the inhabitants of the earth, and that was because they would not stop committing murder, sexual immorality, theft, and pharmakia.
Come on, pharmakia too?
It says it right in there. Pharmakia is translated sorcery.
So sexual immorality, theft, murder, and the use of prescription medications, the use of drugs. You've got to be kidding me.
We must be talking about General Hospital, huh?
Wow, this is unbelievable. So you know what this means, Marvin? This means that if you are a person of faith, if you are a pastor, if you are a reverend, if you are a man or a woman of God, and you have taken that mantle on in this lifetime, and if you abide, if you have decided, made the choice in your life to abide by Scripture, then you must, therefore, disallow the use of pharmacy. You must recommend that your parishioners not use the pharmaceutical method because God has deigned it to be evil and bad. Am I fishing in the right pond?
You are right on, Dr. Glidden. Pharmakia is strictly forbidden. Okay, now we are trying to mask that within our congregations, people of faith. And if people of faith would understand this, we could make a huge impact in delivering our people from the bondage of pharmakia. Think about this. Pharmakia, the administered use of drugs, is not the same thing as nutrition. It alters what God has created.
Marvin, we're up against a hard break. We're going to take that subject up when we come back. I'm getting tingly all over, and that doesn't happen very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Peter Glidden, and this is Fire Your MD Now. Welcome to Metaphysical Thursday. Our very special guest, Marvin Ropp. Do not even think about touching that dial. It's getting real now, ladies and gentlemen. It's getting real now. If you are a person of faith, if you are a person of the Christian faith in the world, you want to pay attention to this. Because remember, ultimately what we're up to here is a revolution, a non-militant, peaceful revolution of hearts and minds, a revolution of information and results. Science-based, clinically verified medical nutrition developed by the world's leading expert in medical nutrition, the physician, literally, not figuratively, who wrote the book on medical nutrition, has put together health recovery protocols, foundation medical nutrition for the masses. And these protocols are available to you right now, today, through your Youngevity representative. If you like what we're talking about and you're listening on terrestrial radio, then listen to the commercial breaks and call the number that your radio station gives out. There are representatives in your town waiting to take your call to give you information about what you can do to start the road to recovery of your health. If you found me all by your lonesome, and you want information, you like what we're talking about, call this number, 855-347-3696. That's 855-347-3696. And if you were taken to this program, shown this radio show, directed to my program by a friend or a stranger or somebody who's already a Youngevity member, get with them to get information about taking the next step. The information brought to the table here by Marvin Ropp is a potential game changer. Marvin, welcome back.
Thank you, Dr. Glidden. And as I said before the hard break, it even gets better than that. So let's move from Revelation 9:21 all the way through Revelation 18:23. and there's more judgments pronounced on mankind. But by the time we get to the book of Revelation 18:23, that's the final destruction of the Babylonian system, which is a symbolic for the world system outside of God's will. But I just want to quote to you Revelation 18:23, and it's a small quoted Bible. For by thy pharmakia were all nations deceived. Now, not just one nation, but all nations were deceived. That's why God had to destroy the final destruction of the Babylonian system. The same thing happened to Nineveh in 612 BC. God had to finally destroy Nineveh because of the sorcery and witchcraft, which is nothing more than the practice and administer drugs and pharmakia.
Read that to me once more. Read that to me once more, Marvin. Read that to me once more.
Revelation 18:23. This is the King James translation. For by thy sorceries, for by thy pharmakia, were all the nations deceived.
For by thy pharmakia, all nations were deceived. By thy pharmakia, all nations were deceived. Well, look around, ladies and gentlemen. How's your health working for you? How are those prescription medications working for you now? Is your health better? Is your life better? Are you feeling better? Is your family better? Is everything hunky-dory? Are you sleeping okay? Is your energy okay? Are your knees okay? Is your sex drive okay? How's life? Is life getting better and better for you, or are you falling apart at the seams? Are your loved ones suffering beneath the wheel of chronic diseases? Are your loved ones being drugged to death and not getting any better? How about your bank account? How are those prescription medications working against your income, working against your hard-earned money? Are you getting richer every year, or are the pharmaceutical companies dripping it out of you day by day, week by week, month by month? Pick your heads up, look around, and ask yourself the simple question: do you feel better now than you did yesterday by following the advice of the MDs? I'm going to assume the answer is no. But don't get me started. All right, Marvin, this is unbelievable stuff. What next?
Well, when I first discovered this, I was like, wow, I almost turned white, and I was shaking. And I said, you know what? This means that a licensed medical doctor is, in the Greek definition, he's a licensed to practice witchcraft and sorcery. He's a licensed witch doctor, if you think about it. From the Greek,
Marvin, you're speaking my language, brother. You're speaking my language.
The Greek writer, the Greek language is a very profound language. When a Greek writer says something, there was no mistake what he was saying. And he was basically saying, look, if you are in bondage to pharmakia, you're not going to be pleasing to God. And I want to speak to men and women of faith. And look, I know that this may come to a tremendous shock to you, especially if you're in the medical profession. But see, you didn't know this until now. But please, look at these biblical references for yourself. And, I want you to pray about this, because not only I'm speaking to the people of faith now. Now, those that are not of faith, you just listen for a second. But I want to speak to the people of faith, because we have the ability. We have the ability to make change. We have the ability to educate. We have the ability to turn around. Just like Nineveh, when Jonah went to Nineveh and said, look, guys, did you realize that God is about to destroy you in 40 days? Now, could you imagine what would happen if some angel would come on this earth and say, guys, all the medical doctors will be burned up to hell in 40 days if anyone stopped practicing medicine? How many medical doctors would continue to practice pharmakia if they would be told if that's what's going to happen in 40 days? Well, that's what happened with Nineveh. When Jonah came there, he said, look, guys, you look at me. I've got seaweed still wrapped in my neck from being swallowed in the whale. And, of course, the Ninevites were, wow, this guy is serious. And, and maybe God is serious too. But, the same thing is true now. Dr. Wallach is serious. He has been on a mission. And when I showed these biblical references, Dr. Wallach, he was like, wow, that's it, Marvin, that's it. We have now the biblical authority and responsibility not only to rescue our loved ones from the bondage of the witch doctor.
Well, it's a remarkable thing. And so, if you're a person of faith, right, then you have taken upon yourself that responsibility, and you draw your inspiration and you navigate your life based upon the scriptures. And so here we have it in not so plain language that you have uncovered, which directly points to the net negative effects, the evil nature of the pharmaceutical industry and the way that medicine is dispersed, not only in the United States, but in all nations of the world. This could potentially be a game changer, Marvin. Now, We only have a limited time left. I want to talk on as many subjects as we can. How does this stuff that you're talking about segue into genetically modified organisms? What's the deal with that?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because if you look at, you were referring to the pharmaceutical companies, but basically the pharmaceutical companies are under the thumb of, guess who? The chemical companies. The chemical companies own the pharmaceutical companies, and they also own all the seed companies. Yeah, Merck, Bayer, Monsanto, all those companies, they own the seed companies, and therefore they are genetically modifying our grains. And they're getting the same. They're doing that because they can make the same kind of money off a genetically modified grain as they can on a combination of drugs. So it's about the money. The chemical companies are behind this whole thing. And Dr. Glidden, you've really hit the nail on the head. We talked about in the early 1920s when we started the different direction in healthcare and medicine. And if you think about it, chemicals, drugs, alter what God has created. It doesn't matter if it's in the form of drugs or it doesn't matter in the form of genetically modified grains. You know, God, when he created the heavens and earth in 6 days, based on Genesis, he said on the sixth day, he said, it is very good. That term very good in Hebrew is implying he's given us his best. Now think about this, Dr. Glidden. Do you think you and I have more wisdom than God to come in and genetically modify plants and modify drugs to alter the gene functions and things like that? Come on, let's get real here.
And yet, this is what happens. So the thesis here is that the chemical companies own the drug companies. The chemical companies own the seed manufacturers. The chemical companies are not only messing with our health directly through the administration and the advocacy of prescription medication, pharmakia, but they're also messing with the food supply in order to make more profits. They're thinking that they're smarter than God. They're thinking that they know more than God. They're thinking that they can throw a wrench into these gears and nothing is going to happen. And the motivation here is money, 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 money. And meanwhile, we suffer, we get sick, we go bankrupt, we die. That's a big, bad voodoo daddy, if you ask me.
Something else I want to add, Dr. Glidden, is that think of it this way. Let's say some of you older than us remember the L.A. riots. Okay, here you are in an urban area, and all of a sudden you have a civil unrest, and all of a sudden, you run out of diabetes medication. How quickly can you escape and evade without diabetes medication before you go into diabetic coma?
Not very long.
Not very long. And you think about this, all those medications that we're dependent upon, what happens all of a sudden the supply of medication is cut off? Well, guess what? You're going down the tube with everybody else because you are in bondage to pharmakia. And this is why Dr. Wallach's message is so important, because we do not have to be in bondage to pharmakia. We have an alternative. And Dr. Glidden and Dr. Wallach have been the forefront of this, the 90 Nutrients. And I really am excited about being part of Dr. Glidden's show here and helping everybody understand we do have a biblical responsibility. Now, those of you who are men and women of faith, if you're in the medical industry, think of it this way. We're asking you to reconsider. And if you think about it, Dr. Glidden, a medical doctor is licensed to practice pharmakia. He is not licensed to practice nutrition. And that's the sad thing about it. We need to change that.
Well, and there's nobody, and I couldn't agree with you more, Marvin. And, the fact of the matter is, for 25 years, I was very active. Well, 20 years. Let's be specific. For 20 years, I was very active politically in attempting to get naturopathic medicine licensed in as many states as was humanly possible. I grew up in the great state of Massachusetts. Massachusetts has had a licensing effort for 25 years to get naturopathic medicine recognized and licensed and regulated to give the citizens of Massachusetts access to naturopathic medicine the same way that they have access to allopathic medicine. 25 years later, still no law. It's unbelievable. So I've given up that. I'm no longer interested in being politically active. What I am interested in and dedicated and motivated about is to grow the Youngevity Grassroots Coalition, because what we are attempting to do here in Youngevity is to grow a grassroots coalition of the informed, people all around the world who are struggling with health, find Youngevity, try the Youngevity health recovery strategies, recover their health, and then spread the word. And this is how we're going to change the world, one person at a time, through an aggressive attempt to grow a grassroots coalition of the informed. And I got to tell you, man, leave it to an ex-military man to underline this distinction that I'd never thought about before, that the more dependent you are on prescription medications, the less free you are. Right? We rattle our chains to celebrate our freedom. Isn't the Patriot Act a great thing? Yeah, I don't think so. We rattle our prescription medications to celebrate our health. Yeah, I don't think so. Remember, it's not the gun, it's how it's used. It's not the drug, it's how it's used. The way that MDs, witch doctors, and sorcerers are trained to use drugs, guess what? They're the leading cause of death in the United States, the leading cause of bankruptcy in the United States. And look, just ask yourself the question, how are you doing? Are you better now than you were 5 years ago? Are you healthier now than you were 10 years ago? When you project into the future, is it rosy and bright and good, or is it filled with doom and gloom and despair? Ladies and gentlemen, the time is now. Get with the person who told you about this radio show. Listen at the commercial break to the number. Call the number. Get in touch with Youngevity and get your way back. Find your way back to the undiscovered country of science-based, clinically verified medical nutrition. We're finishing up the first hour with Marvin. When we come back, stick around. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Finishing out the first hour of Metaphysical Thursday. Marvin Ropp, my very special guest, a retired ex-Navy SEAL of all people, telling us about his understanding of Scripture vis-a-vis pharmakia, which is translated to witchcraft, sorcery, and drugs. So, Marvin, we have 5 minutes left in the show here in this first segment. Let's talk about organic versus GMO. Come on in, Marvin. Are you still with me? Well, holy smokes, I think we might have lost Marvin.
Dr. Glidden. Hey,
there you are, Marvin.
I had it on mute. Okay.
All right, welcome back, brother. So let's talk about GMO versus organic and wrap it up.
Okay, well, first of all, if you are concerned about chemicals and things like that, you definitely want to buy organic. That means non-chemicals. That means that you have non-genetically modified grains. So you always want to go organic. Unfortunately, organic does not necessarily mean nutritionally enhanced. In the agriculture industry, there's a term called nutrient density in your feed. Well, the same thing is true for human food or human fruits and vegetables. If we have greater nutrient density, which we can only achieve that with minerals. Unfortunately, when you're consuming plants that have been genetically modified, which typically are your Roundup-ready crops, like corn, soybean, and alfalfa and things like that, and your oats and wheat and barley and rye, those plants have been genetically modified, and glyphosate prevents mineral uptake into the plant. Now, what does that mean for our health? Well, as I travel across the Midwest and the Farm Belt, I see a lot of mineral deficiency symptoms in the animals: horses, pigs, cows, goats, chickens, you name it. And once we started feeding these animals with Dr. Wallach's minerals, we were able to reverse these mineral deficiency symptoms very quickly. Now, I did not understand why that was until later on, but now I understand that glyphosate in Roundup, chemical Roundup, prevents mineral uptake in plants. So you think about this, your secondary nutrients, your micronutrients, and there's 60-some minerals required for essential health. And if we're taking and limiting just the primary, secondary micronutrients, which is 16 of those minerals, in the agriculture industry, now we understand why we have all these birth defects in animals, and we have 50% infertility in dairy, according to the American Cattlemen Association. And these numbers that we see in the cows, horses, and pigs are showing up in our 20-year-olds. These 20-year-old childless couples, the first generation of what I call GMO babies. There's a children born in the early 90s. That's when genetically modified grains were first introduced. So now we're living on a nutritional deficiency processed food diet, and it is wreaking havoc, not only in the agriculture industry, but also in our next generation that's replacing us.
Boy, it's crazy. So you're telling me that, the soils themselves are minerally deficient, and when a farmer uses pesticides on the soil, it's going to kill the bacteria in the soil that helps the plant to metabolize the minerals that it needs. And then when you use Roundup, which every farmer in the world uses as weed control, and as an herbicide or a fungicide, or I don't know, weed control, I think, then the presence of the Roundup is going to prevent the plant from absorbing what little minerals there are in the soil, which leads to an even more demineralized plant, which leads to even more demineralized humans, which leads to more death and destruction, all brought to you by Pharmakia. Ladies and gentlemen, this should be a wake-up call. Marvin, a parting shot from you in the last minute and 30 seconds.
Okay, just real quickly, think of it this way. When you consume genetically modified grains, see, a lack of mineral uptake into the plant, that weed is not able to have a healthy immune system. It succumbs to a virus or a fungus and dies. And basically, when we spray chemicals of glyphosate on this Roundup-ready crops, the weed succumbs to these diseases, essentially giving the weeds AIDS. Okay, we are destroying its immune system by a lack of mineral uptake. Now, think about what that does when we eat these Cheerios and we eat all the different fruits and vegetables which have been contaminated with glyphosate. We are limiting mineral uptake, which suppresses our immune system, which allows the diseases to start to have a major impact on our health and wellness.
So everything connects. The basic take-home message: the chemical industries are killing us figuratively and literally, and it's about time we all got a clue, jumped onto the ark of longevity, picked our heads up out of the sand, and got our health back aggressively with Longevity's nutrition. Marvin, you continue to be the man. We got to have you back to talk more about the relationship between agriculture and health. I expect you more and more each day. Keep up the good work, brother. I'll see you in the future. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. That was quite an interesting hour, wasn't it? Oh, man, how about that stuff between GMOs and mineral deficiencies and lions and tigers and witches and sorcerers? Oh, my. Leave it to an ex-military man to bring these things to light, things I never would have thought of before. But you know what? Knowledge is power, and we march forward, hopefully, with a little bit more knowledge every day. That's what we stand for here on the Dr. Glidden Show. And if you're watching this live video stream on YouTube, you want to join the chat room where there are 70 people from all around the world, 67 people on YouTube also watching. Go to drglidden.com. Go to thedrgliddenshow.tv, 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 and follow the links, join the live chat. It's free. Let's get to the phones. Go to Nancy in Tennessee and talk about sleep. Hey, Nancy, thanks for the call. You are live.
Hi, very interesting subject. I've kind of done a little research on pharmacopoeia versus homeopathy.
Yeah.
And, it's just the scientific world took control.
Well, before the Flexner Report in the early 1900s, there were, I think, 25, maybe between 20 and 30 homeopathic medical schools all around the country and homeopathic hospitals all around the country. Within 5 years after the publishing of the Flexner Report, within 5 years of the Carnegies giving the MDs and the pharmaceutical industry millions of dollars of free money in passing laws which outlawed the practice of medicine unless you were an MD, all of the homeopathic medical schools and hospitals went the way of the dodo bird. And this wasn't because their therapeutics weren't effective. It was because they simply couldn't compete. I mean, look, if you're running a business and I'm running a business, let's say you have a dry cleaners and I have a dry cleaners, and your dry cleaners gets $1 million of free money. Well, who do you think's going to have more business? You are. And that's what happened to the homeopaths. That's what happened to everybody else after the Flexner Report. But because these things are no longer taught in school, most people look around and they see, son of a gun, the only medicine practiced in my hospital is MD-directed medicine. The only medicine I've taught about in school is MD-directed medicine. The only medicine my insurance pays for is MD-directed medicine. George Clooney played an MD on TV, so therefore it must be MD medicine all the time. And the only reason that it's MD medicine all the time is because they legislated themselves into first place, and it is a crying shame. But amen, right? So thanks for calling. How can I help?
Okay, I have a 1.5-year-old grandson who had a very traumatic birth. They induced labor, and he was not ready to come out. Anyway, a lot of trauma at birth, and he has never been able to relax and rest. He's a year and a half. He probably hasn't slept more than 4 hours at a time. Yeah. And he tries hard. He'll go to bed and he'll sleep, and he tosses and turns, and then he gets frustrated, and he's just, upset. He's a good kid. His mom is trying really hard to follow. He's on Tangy Tangerine. He's on the calcium.
The powdered or the liquid? Do you know?
Liquid. He's on liquid.
Good.
And gluten-free most of the time. I think she gives him some sprouted wheat bread.
All right.
But, we want him to be able to relax and sleep.
Okay. So, and he's taking essential fatty acids, EFAs?
No, he is not.
Okay. So, is it because of, do you know why?
Well,
are the parents vegetarian and they don't want to eat fish or anything like that?
I guess probably just don't know how to give it to him at this
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a good point. So, all right. So let's talk about that, because he needs the essential fatty acids to have a healthy central nervous system. And in stuff like this, the central nervous system is at play, right? So we have to find a way to get the fish oil capsules into his body. So now, believe it or not, there are there's one distributor that's been with Youngevity forever. He lives in Salt Lake City. He's got like 18 kids, right? The Mormons, they're like into big families, right? So he's got a ton of kids. They're all girls. And when they were growing up, they had a big bowl on the kitchen table filled with fish oil caps. There must have been 200 fish oil caps in the bowl at any moment in time. And they trained the kids to get into the habit of popping them in their mouth and chewing on them and popping them in their mouth. And, isn't that a fun thing? And so this has been done in the past. I know that kids can do this, so you may want to try to make it fun for the child. Have him just put the caps in his mouth and bite down on them and pop them in his mouth. And, isn't that fun? See if that works. If that doesn't work, then you want to take a needle, pierce the gel cap, squeeze the oil out onto anything else, like, for instance, a piece of gluten-free toast. Put the oil on it. If you're giving him dinner, with rice or potatoes or whatever, or vegetables, squeeze the fish oil from the capsule directly onto the food. You got to find a way to get the fish oil caps into the child, and I would start, regardless of body weight, with 3 a day. I would start with 3 a day, and you have to be creative around this, right? Also, I would, immediately before bed. How much does the child weigh, by the way? Do you have any sense?
He's probably 26 pounds.
Okay, so before bed, I would put 1 tablespoon of the white liquid calcium in, 2 tablespoons of orange juice, and I'd give it to the child immediately before bed, and I mean immediately before bed. He swallows it down, brushes his teeth, goes to bed. I would try that for 3 days in a row, in addition to giving him the fish oil on those days for 3 days in a row. Now, there's a homeopathic medicine which may help, but I only want you to give him 1 dose of it one time only. It's called Aconite napellus, or Aconitum napellus, A-C-O-N-I-T like Thomas, U-M, napellus, N like Nancy, A, P like Peter, E-L-L-U-S, Aconitum napellus in the 1M strength. You're not going to find that at a health food store. You're probably going to have to go online and order it. There's a company called Homeopathy Overnight. You can look them up. There's also a company in Chicago, smallflower.com. They'll sell you this stuff, a vial of this stuff online, or a multi-dose tube of Aconitum napellus, 1M. Give the child 2 pellets orally, one time only. He's going to love the way they taste. It tastes like sugar. Wait 7 days and see whether or not that helps him to calm down. This could have something to do with the birth trauma. This could have something to do with a little type of psychological remnant stress here that his body needs to get over. And if that's the case, then the aconite will go a long way towards facilitating the release of that. as will the EFAs and extra calcium. So he needs more calcium, okay? More calcium immediately before bed. Give that a try for, 7 days. Give me a call back with a report, Nancy, and keep your fingers crossed.
Sounds great.
All right. Appreciate your support and your trust. Wisconsin's up next. Janet, she called yesterday. Didn't have time for her. Janet, thanks for your persistence and your patience. You are live.
Yes. I have this, well, before I go into the atrial fibrillation I was born with, I wanted to mention something I thought was interesting that people might know about or want to know about. I have a encyclopedia. I don't know. It's Miracles from the Vault, Anniology of Underground Cures by Jenny Thompson. It's put out by the Health Science Institute. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
I'm not.
I get a lot of stuff in the mail because I've been in the health my whole life.
Great.
Well, when they were talking about, I listened to your program with Marvin, when he was talking about GMOs. There's something that I think people would like to know. This, I take what they flex lignans, Lignans.
Yeah, flax lignans, right?
It's the hull. It's not a flaxseed.
Yeah, it's the hull.
It's 100% the hulls.
Yeah.
It's very concentrated. It's 1 teaspoon of concentrated flex hull ligaments contains a nutritional equivalent of 2 gallons of flaxseed. Yes, gallons. And the oil, you can forget about that because there's nothing in it. But my point is that it has helped with many things. A lot of AIDS people take this, and they have gotten reverse of that. They send this by the caseful over to Africa, and it's helping the AIDS victims over there.
Well,
also, it has helped. There was an 84-year-old man that had lung cancer, and after taking it for 6 months, his lung cancer, the swelling and all those nodules that they had, they went down to almost nothing. They only had one little tiny nodule, and his doctor, he had a female doctor, and she was so mad because in 6 months he was almost cured of this lung cancer, and she was so mad that she wouldn't treat him anymore. But that's good because he had found what he needed.
So how can I help you? How can I help you with your atrial fib? Is this the reason for the call, ostensibly?
Yes, it was. Yes.
And you've had AFib since birth, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right,
I had to go to a doctor.
Yeah, all right. All right. Well, I can tell you our take on this. I love helping people with AFib. This is almost a guaranteed success. And we can thank Dr. Wallach for the massive amounts of autopsies that he did that helped us understand this, right? You do 20,000 autopsies, you're going to start to get a clue. You're going to start to see patterns. Well, most of the time with atrial fibrillation, by the way, folks, that's fancy schmancy doctor talk for an irregularly beating heart. The heart doesn't beat normally. It beats erratically, right? And who knows what's going to happen next. Well, what Dr. Wallach found after he did 26,000 autopsies is that the heart itself is fine. The nerves in the heart are fine. The problem is the spine. You know, the spinal cord comes off of the brain, goes all the way down the back. The spinal cord is protected by the vertebrae, your backbone. That's the stuff that the chiropractor adjusts. And between each of the spinal processes in your backbone, nerves come out and go to different parts of your body to get different things done. When the nerve that goes to the heart is squeezed inappropriately, guess what? You get atrial fib. We trace this situation back specifically to degenerative disc disease in the spine. And the recommendation here is to give your body bone and joint support. We give your body bone and joint support with one Healthy Body Start Pack per 100 pounds of body weight per month, one Healthy Body Start Pack per 100 pounds of body weight per month, and one bottle of Glucogel per 50 pounds of body weight per month. That's Liquid Glucogel Plus, one bottle of Liquid Glucogel Plus per 100 pounds of body weight per month. And selenium. My recommendation, 1 bottle of selenium per 50 pounds of body weight per month. So let me line that up for you one more time. The recommendation here is per 100 pounds of body weight per month, 1 Healthy Body Start Pack 2.0 liquid, 2 bottles of selenium, 1 bottle of liquid glucose, 2 bottles of liquid glucogel plus eliminate the 10 bad foods. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Peter Glidden here. Check out the live video stream, why don't you? The Dr. Glidden Show and .tv. Let's go to Utah and talk to Lee about bone and back damage. Hey, Lee, thanks for the call. You are live.
Good afternoon, Doctor. I have a situation where there's a couple, both of them have been really damaged a lot. The wife has gone through hell with diabetes, with kidney. She ended up having a kidney replaced, and she's had recently more problems with her backbone. And the husband has fallen out of a tree and injured his backbone.
Yikes.
A car wreck last week, and he was flown into Provo, and they are just in a recovery process right now, and I wondered what you would recommend for both of them with regard to getting them started. They have not been on the program at all.
Well, it's a great question, and you're a good person to, have their back, pun intended. So I tell you a story. I was given a lecture a number of years ago, 3-4 years ago, in St. George, Utah. And there was a woman, the husband and wife brought their daughter, and the daughter had been in an automobile accident, a bad one, and because of the automobile accident, the orthopedic surgeons did like 5 or 6 different surgeries to her, to kind of knit the bones back together and piece her body back together, because it was a big, bad voodoo daddy accident. Well, the last surgery that they did, they goofed and they screwed, one of those screws that they hold your bones together with. Well, they screwed that into her spine, her spinal cord, and paralyzed her from the waist down. Well, long story short, her parents caught wind of Youngevity, and they came to a lecture that I gave, and I advised them what to give the daughter to support and promote healthy bones and joints, right? 6 months later, I don't even think it took 6 months, quite frankly, but, she's walking again. Her body's healed itself, and, the doctors thought that was going to be impossible. I'm telling you, medical nutrition can go often much further than you think that it could when it's properly applied. And it's stories like that, it's feedback like that, testimonials that we get from real people with real illnesses, really suffering seriously, who bounce back almost like a miracle, that really keep me moving forward here and keep me inspired to do this. So, and I also have to tell you, I've said this before, but I'll say it again until the cows come home, because it's the truth. I've been practicing naturopathic therapeutics for 25 years clinically, and I got great results before Youngevity. But since Youngevity, since I've been following Dr. Wallach's lead, using Dr. Wallach's nutritional supplements, the things I've seen people recover from, I didn't think that was possible. And, this woman in St. George was kind of like the icing on the cake of the testimonial stuff. So this is really relatively a simple thing to do, Lee. The recommendation here per 100 pounds of body weight per month in an optimal situation would be 1 for each of them, right? 1 Healthy Body Start Pack 2.0 liquid, 1 Healthy Pack 2.0 liquid, 1 of those. 2 selenium, 1 plant-derived minerals, and 1 digestive enzyme. Bet you didn't think I was going to say that. 1 digestive enzyme. That's 1 digestive enzyme, 2 selenium, 1 plant-derived minerals, and 1 Healthy Pack 2.0 liquid per 100 pounds of body weight per month. Now, to that, I would add 2 bottles of liquid Glucogel Plus per month, 2 bottles of liquid Glucogel Plus per month, and 1 bottle of Cal Toddy. And I would do the Glucogel Plus and the Cal Toddy as add-ons for 2 months. So that's 2 liquid Glucogel Plus and 1 bottle of Cal Toddy as add-ons to that foundation program for 2 months. Plus, of course, eliminate the 10 bad foods. And look, man, anybody who is attempting to build back bone, joint, and ligament tissue must eliminate coffee, and they must eliminate soda pop from their diet. Coffee and soda pop have to go because both of those things, coffee interferes with cartilage regeneration and soda pop interferes with bone regeneration. So those 2 things, in addition to the 10 bad foods, have to go. Good for you for being such a good friend, Lee. Now, get that stuff for these people and have them call me back in a couple of weeks with a report. And guess what? Expect a miracle. Stick around, folks. Daniel from Canada is up next. We're back, ladies and gentlemen. It is a robust chat in the chat room that you can assess for free. The drgliddenshow.tv. Go there now, log in, tune in, and turn on, and you will find yourself in the company of 64 people from all over the world who are of like minds. Let's go to Daniel in Canada and see what's happening. Hey, Dan, thanks for the phone call. You are live.
Hi, Dr. Glenn. Great.
What's going on, Daniel? What's happening?
Well, I had 2 people, actually. One lady, her bladder has dropped, and she's wondering if through nutrition she can, help the condition instead of having surgery. She also have hemorrhoids, she also has difficulty to go to the washroom. I don't remember what it's called, when you cannot move the bowel.
Oh, your constipation?
Constipation, yeah.
All right. Well, these are all arms of the same octopus as far as we're concerned. But the MDs, of course, will tell you that they're genetic or they're baked into the cake or it's just life or it's the result of aging, and they're wrong. The same way they were wrong about bloodletting, the same way they were wrong about the non-existence of germs, the same way they were wrong about Premarin, the same way they were wrong about Vioxx, the same way they were wrong about antibiotics for bronchitis, the same way they were wrong about the genesis of heartburn, the same way they were wrong about the genesis of type 2 diabetes, the same way they were wrong about the genesis of arthritis, the same way they were wrong about the root cause of obesity, the same way they were wrong about how to treat depression and what causes it. They are wrong all of the time when it comes to chronic diseases. Wow. Every once in a while they get it right. They'll know how to stitch up a wound. They'll know how to inject Novocaine to make the pain go away. They'll know how to, replace or remove a gangrenous kidney, and then they think they're kings of the world, and they overlook their abject and utter failures with everything else. Quite frankly, they are intellectual cowards. You should not pay attention to anything that comes out of their mouth concerning chronic disease because they are old school, old-fashioned, closed-minded, archaic physicians not worthy of the title, practicing Machiavellian, monopolistic, mediocre medicine at a profit at your expense. Quite frankly, I honestly don't know why they are still in business because they get such unbelievably poor results. The only reason they are in business is because they own the show. It's good to be king. When you're the king, you can get away with murder. But I digress. Now, with bladder prolapse, there are ligaments inside the abdomen which are supporting the bladder kind of like a sling, right? Kind of like a hammock that's hanging up. And, if both ends of the hammock become frayed or, kind of deteriorate over time, the hammock can come all the way down to the ground. And that's what's happened here with a prolapsed bladder. It's ligament and tendon malnutrition. Now, sometimes when the ligaments and tendons stretch like that, even if you apply medical nutrition, it's not going to bring the bladder all the way back. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. It's real kind of dicey as to whether or not that's able to fix itself. But it underlines, underlying this phenomenon is the fact that whether her bladder has the ability to, reassert its structural integrity after properly applied medical nutrition, she needs the nutrients anyway, because it was for lack of nutrients that the body became problematic in the first place. So whether or not this program is able to fix the current problem, it's going to prevent future problems, and she needs the stuff, right? So she's got nothing to lose here whatsoever, and of course, this is a non-life-threatening condition. So my recommendation, avoid surgery, avoid surgery, avoid surgery, and avoid surgery. Give your body the nutrients that it needs for 6 months in this case, 6 months, and look to see what happens. The situation's either going to improve or it's not going to improve, but I can guarantee you this. If she eliminates the 10 bad foods and nutrifies her body appropriate for body weight every day, her mood's going to get better, her energy's going to get better, her sleep's going to get better, her digestion's going to get better. A lot of things are going to brighten up. Maybe the bladder will get better, I don't know. And even if the bladder doesn't get better, 6 months from now, her body's going to be nutrified and much stronger than it is now, and therefore she will be much more able to handle the stress of surgery, because surgery is a big bad voodoo daddy stress to the body, even when it's necessary and useful. It's a big stress to the body. And it's much better, much smarter, much wiser to go into the surgical arena with a nutrified body rather than go into the surgical arena with a decrepit, weak, under-nutrified, under-mineralized body. So either way, this is like never-fail fudge. Now, constipation, 99% of the time, is related to consistent consumption of wheat, barley, rye, and oats. So she needs to eliminate the 10 bad foods. You need to eliminate the 10 bad foods. I need to eliminate the 10 bad foods. Everybody needs to give that one a try and see how they feel. That's the only way you can tell, quite frankly, whether wheat, barley, rye, and oats are harmful for you, is to eliminate them for, 21 days, and then on day 22, eat a lot of wheat, barley, rye, and oats and see how you feel. So our recommendation across the board for everybody, eliminate wheat, barley, rye, and oats and the rest of the 10 bad foods. And folks, if you're listening for the first time, you want to know what the 10 bad foods are, go to my website, sign up for my newsletter. We'll send you the list for free, along with 2 videos which explain why they're bad. For free. Is free good? I think free is good. So the recommendation here, Daniel, right? Eliminate the 10 bad foods. Anybody that has a constipative event, they also need to look to see how much water they drink. The recommendation here is a minimum of 32 ounces of water a day. A minimum of 32 ounces of water a day. She needs to do some type of physical action, even if it's just walking around the block. I'm not saying she has to join a gym or go on a treadmill or anything like that, but she has to be moving her body every day. Exercise, water, and fiber are the first 3 things. Well, the first thing is eliminate wheat, barley, rye, and oats. The second is water. The next is fiber. And the fourth is exercise. So she can get all the fiber that she needs in her body in almost a perfect package by simply eating 1 apple a day. That's right, an apple a day keeps the constipation away. Make sure she drinks 32 ounces of water, eliminate the 10 bad foods, and then, back everything else up with the proper nutrition. And for her, the recommendation would be to support and promote the structure and function of the ligaments and tendons in her body, plus generalized overall nutritional support. The recommendation is 1 Healthy Body Start Pack 2.0 liquid. 1 Healthy Start 2.0 liquid. 2 bottles of selenium. 1 bottle of plant-derived minerals per 100 pounds of body weight per month. 1 bottle of HGH Youth Complex per 50 pounds of body weight per month. And 1 bottle of Liquid Glucogel Plus per 50 pounds of body weight per month. If she's physically able to do it, she should also do an inverted yoga pose for 5 minutes 3 times a day. Shoulder stand, shoulder stand would be probably a good thing for her to do, a shoulder stand or some modification thereof. She needs to get her abdomen above her waist. She needs to get her abdomen above her waist. Some type of inverted yoga pose for 5 minutes, 3 times a day, if she's physically able to do that, would also help. Or if she's not physically able to do that, she can get one of those swings, an inversion swing where you strap your ankles into it and you lean backwards and it flips you upside down. What we don't recommend with the inversion swings is going all the way upside down. You want to stop at about 45 degrees. Don't go all the way upside down. Stop at about 45 degrees. It's a good thing to do because remember the bladder is prolapsed. So when you do a physical inversion like that, you help the bladder to go back to where it used to be, to where it should be. And that beats a poke in the eye with a sharp stick. So that's how I would handle all of that. And, like my fiance often tells me, Dr. G, you talk too much. Anything else, Dan?
Yeah, no, that was amazing. Thank you so much. We're learning a lot every time you talk. So.
Yeah, well, that's why we get the big bucks here, brother. And, often it kind of sounds like... what I'm trying to say is most of the information that we bring to the table here, it sounds complicated and it sounds sophisticated, but from the proper perspective, really, it's the same stuff that we're talking about from different angles all of the time, right? So this is why my insider subscription is so valuable, because if you become an insider, if you become a subscriber, ladies and gentlemen, $20 a month, you will have access to really easy to understand information, hundreds of hours of archived health recovery information that's available right now for your fingertips. Plus, you have access to a couple of hours of live chat every week where you get to ask me questions specifically, without the time stress that we have here on the radio program. We also have a forum where people have posted questions. People are posting questions 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's a question that's burning in your frontal cortex may already have been asked and answered inside the forum. And then all this for $20 a month? You got to be kidding me. We're giving it away. Go to my website, drglidden.com. Check it out. Become an insider now. For goodness sake, what are you waiting for? Daniel, who brought you into Youngevity? And how's it been going for you up there in Canada? And what part of Canada are you in?
I am signed up through a line from Keith Halls and through Wendy Matthews. She signed me up. And we are doing very good, actually. I am in Ottawa. And
that's the capital, right?
Yeah, that's the capital. Yeah, that's right.
Well, a lot of people in politics need this. God only knows if everybody in politics took one healthy start pack per 100 pounds of body weight per month, that we'd be living in quite a different world. How long have you been involved in, the business aspect of Youngevity?
A year now.
And how is it going for you?
Well, I am a strong ACMD, actually. I'm doing very good.
That's awesome. I'm proud of you, man. That's really, really good. And, have you found it easy or have you found it difficult? What's your experience with building the business been like?
To me, it's been easy, actually, because there is so much need for what we have, We just gotta be able to talk, and to tell people what we have, because everybody needs it in one way or another.
Yeah, it's true, ladies and gentlemen, and this is, not only the reason that Youngevity is so successful. Youngevity breaks sales records every quarter, and they've done that for the last 4 years in a row, I believe. They're a publicly traded company now. They have an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau in the United States. The reason that Youngevity grows, the reason that Daniel is successful, the reason that other Youngevity reps in the world are so successful is simple. It works. Proof of the pudding's in the eating. You don't even have to know how to spell vitamin, ladies and gentlemen. Give it a try. Daniel, you're awesome. Keep up the good work. Your friends and family members and church members, community members need you more than you know. I'm proud to be in your company, as I am with every other Youngevity representative worldwide. This is a grassroots coalition of the compassionate. Stick around. Finishing up when we come back. Well, it's been an interesting show today, ladies and gentlemen. Marvin Ropp, ex-Navy SEAL of all people, giving us insight into scriptural indications for people of faith, people of the Christian faith, which advocate against the use of doctors and medications. Imagine that. This perhaps is one of the reasons why, the people who are doing the most harm in medicine are the people who are in charge of medicine. I've never been able to figure that out. I've never been able to come up with a conclusive reason why that's happening. Well, maybe it has something to do with the preponderance of the old fight of good versus evil. I don't have insight into those realms, but, if it looks like a duck, if it flies like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, well, it's probably a duck. I mean, can there be any other reason why the people who are hurting us are in charge of our health care? Can there be any other reason other than something going on here with the relationship of, the light versus the dark? I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the matter. In any event, we can theorize and we can speculate until the cows come home, but in the final analysis, what's important is, how do you feel? How are we doing now? How's your health now? Are you better than you were 5 years ago? Are you better than you were a year ago? Is your future bright and rosy and solid and good, or is it dim? Is it filled with doom and gloom? How do you feel right now? How's conventional medicine working for you and yours? If you're happy with it, then God bless you. It's a free country, more or less. Nobody's holding a gun to your head yet and forcing you to get medical care from the MDs. We are forcing you now to buy medical insurance. If you live in the European Union or Canada, they take it right out of your check. It's socialized medicine. You don't have a choice. But, if you're good, you're good. If you're not, you've come to exactly the right place. Go to my website, become an insider, get a subscription, a monthly subscription, get knowledge about how you can get your health back with simple health recovery steps, simple steps that you can take every day. Call me on the radio show after you've done that. Ask me questions, give us testimonies, good or bad, about how you're doing. We don't screen the calls here. We take every call as they come. I have no idea who's going to talk to me about what. This is how we do it. This is as good as it gets. This is unadulterated, clear. This is a clear channel, ladies and gentlemen. We don't, obfuscate. We don't mess around. We don't collude. We don't conflate. We just tell it like it is and look forward to your calling in with truthful, authentic reports about how you're doing, either with conventional medicine or with holistic medicine, whether it's longevity or something else. The world needs to hear your story. I want you to call and tell us your story because people need to hear this. Right? I'm going to talk about this until the day that I die, God willing, and the creek don't rise. But, when it's just Dr. Glidden all of the time, well, it gets a little old. That's why we need you to be the second witness. So give us a call. Put this radio show on your radar. Call in and stand up and be counted. Tell the world your story, because guess what? There is a bigger audience here than you know, and people need to hear it from more than just one source. Become an insider on my website, drglidden.com. You'll have immediate access to hundreds of hours of archived health webinars which line up for you simple solutions that you can start right now today, which support and promote your body's ability to recover its health. Solutions and strategies developed by physicians trained in the holistic method who bring to the table decades of clinical experience. You can get in a plane and fly to a city where there's a practicing licensed naturopathic physician, pay hundreds of dollars for an initial consultation, hundreds of dollars for a hotel, and hundreds of dollars for a plane ticket. Or you can just give $20 a month and get started right now. Because remember, surgery is complicated, but most of the time, healing is easy. Until we meet in person, I remain your steadfast advocate for health, Dr. Glidden. Live long and prosper.